Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're exploring the absolutely incredible 3,000-year journey of Samoan culture. We're going to trace this fascinating timeline, starting all the way back with the ancient Polynesian navigators who first settled these volcanic islands, right up to the resilient, independent nation of today, a nation actively navigating the heavy forces of globalization and climate change. It's a story of profound adaptability, and I'm super excited to guide you through it.
Here's our quick roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with origins and early settlement, move right into the colonial divide and the path to sovereignty, dig into the cultural bedrock of the Samoan way, and finally, look at navigating the future.
All right, Section 1, Origins and Early Settlement, the Lapita Voyage.
So, the story of Samoa begins with one of the most remarkable and honestly rapid maritime expansions in all of human history. What's really wild about this timeline is the sheer speed of the human migration it represents. About 2,800 years ago, a massive wave of migrations brought the Lapita people from near Vanuatu and New Caledonia straight across the Pacific. By 800 to 880 BCE, we start seeing their distinctly decorated ceramics popping up in western Samoa, near Malufunua. And then just a few decades later, around 770 BCE, they've already settled Ofu in eastern Samoa. It's a protracted but incredibly rapid 60 to 80-year settlement sequence for the Samoan Islands. To put that crazy speed into perspective for you, it took around 450 years for ancient peoples to settle nearby Fiji.
Now, before we get into the really complex history of colonization, there's a crucial concept we absolutely have to understand, and that's fa'a Samoa. Literally translating to the Samoan way of life, this isn't just a list of old traditions. It's a highly collaborative, egalitarian, and living cultural system. It's all about communalism, deep respect, and a really profound shared connection to collectively owned land. This is the 3,000-year-old cultural bedrock of the islands. As we move forward, keep this in the back of your mind, because fa'a Samoa is the exact mechanism that absorbs and adapts to literally every historical shock these islands are about to face.
Moving right along to Section 2, the colonial divide and changing hands of power.
So fast forward to the 18th and 19th centuries. European explorers and later the London Missionary Society in 1830 show up, ushering in an era of major economic change and fierce imperial rivalries. Honestly, the late 19th and early 20th centuries became this chaotic colonial chessboard where foreign powers basically carved up the archipelago. Germany took the Western Islands as a protectorate, while the United States grabbed control of the Eastern Islands, which we know today as American Samoa. Great Britain was involved too, but they eventually withdrew their claims to get other territories in the Pacific. But the whole board flipped again during World War I, when New Zealand troops rolled in and bloodlessly overthrew the German colonial government in Western Samoa in 1914.
Now, these different foreign powers managed the islands in very different ways, which naturally sparked fierce local pushback. For instance, under German authority, there was immense local resistance. Local German authority actually collapsed rapidly in the late 19th century, after Chief Matafa famously refused a German lapel pin. That perceived act of disrespect sparked the 1891 to 1892 conflict known as Matafa's War. On the flip side, the New Zealand administration that took over in 1914 used a totally different tactic, a strict state of emergency, martial law, and violent suppression to maintain an oppressive rule over the local population.
Which brings us to Section 3, the path to sovereignty, pushing for independence.
Following World War II, we see this incredible, highly organized pushback against foreign administration led by the mob movement, and the mob pushed hard for self-governance. When they were handed a flawed draft constitution that would have kept the Supreme Court and ultimate legal power over in New Zealand, the mob leaders outright rejected it. No way. They organized massive, peaceful boycotts of the New Zealand-led assembly, but tragically, those peaceful efforts were met with violent suppression. Security forces eventually opened fire on crowds in Maota, resulting in the heartbreaking deaths of 4 people.
But you know what? Despite all those immense challenges, the violence and the political manipulation, the ultimate outcome was truly historic. In 1962, Western Samoa successfully secured its sovereignty. They became the very first South Pacific island country to gain independence from colonial rule, hitting this massive milestone long before many of their Pacific neighbors.
Let's dive into Section 4, the Samoan Way, Culture in the Modern Era. So, now that Samoa is an independent nation, how exactly does a 3,000-year-old traditional system function alongside modern governance and a globalized economy? Well, the structure remains remarkably intact.
Step 1. Land is still owned collectively by the villages. You can't just buy or sell it. Step 2. These villages are governed locally by a council of title holders, known as matai. And Step 3. These matai hold strict authority over national political representation. Now, while this preserves incredible cultural integrity, our source material does point out that it can sometimes complicate modern development initiatives and efforts toward gender equality in village affairs.
Just take a look at this number, 75,000. That is staggering. Following the Second World War, the New Zealand government introduced a labor scheme, and almost 75,000 Samoans were recruited to work in New Zealand over just a 13-year period. This migration deeply altered traditional village life and sparked a massive global Samoan diaspora as entire families moved to urban centers abroad looking for employment.
And because of that massive diaspora, Samoa's modern economic pillars have shifted in a major way. Notice how the largest slice of the economy is actually remittances. That's cash sent back home by Samoan workers living abroad. Along with foreign aid, tourism, and agriculture, these remittances are vital for sustaining the population. But, as you can probably guess, relying so heavily on money flowing in from outside the country creates some pretty critical economic vulnerabilities, especially whenever there's a global financial crisis.
Okay, before we jump into our final section, I want to pose this essential question to you. How does a 3,000-year-old culture survive a rapidly changing global climate? It's a huge question, and it really bridges Samoa's deep historical resilience with the stark existential environmental realities they are facing right at this very moment.
Which takes us right into Section 5, Navigating the Future and Environmental Vulnerability.
Samoa's geographic position literally puts it on the front lines of a warming ocean, and the data here is terrifying. While the global average for sea level rise sits around 1.5 millimeters per year, Samoa is getting hit with 2 to 3 millimeters. But look at American Samoa, a staggering 7 to 9 millimeters a year. This is happening because of something called viscoelastic relaxation from recent megathrust earthquakes. Basically, the land is subsiding at the exact same time the water is rising, meaning the sea level there is going up nearly 5 times faster than the global average, drastically worsening coastal flooding.
And recent natural disasters paint a really stark picture of just how vulnerable the islands are. On September 29, 2009, a massive 8.1 magnitude megathrust earthquake struck just 60 kilometers offshore. The tsunami that followed absolutely devastated southern Upolu and northern Tutuila. It resulted in an estimated 143 to 200 casualties and caused a jaw-dropping $140 million in economic damage. It's a sobering reminder of the profound and urgent need for robust disaster management.
But here is the absolutely crucial takeaway. Samoa isn't just sitting back as a victim of climate change. No way! They are proactively taking a leading role on the international stage. Samoa is actually the very first country in the world to appoint a government chief executive as its designated climate change ambassador and negotiator with the United Nations. They are out there actively fighting for the survival of small island developing states everywhere.
We're wrapping up this explainer with a really powerful realization, captured perfectly in this quote from our sources. The challenges have been met with adaptation of the Fa'a Samoa rather than wholesale surrender. The 3,000-year-old Samoan way isn't some relic of the past. It is the exact mechanism of community and resilience that allows them to endure everything thrown their way. So it leaves us with one final provocative thought. As the entire globe faces an incredibly uncertain environmental crisis, could the deeply communal, adaptable principles of the Samoan way actually offer the rest of the world a sustainable alternative to navigating our climate future? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today.